In this video, let's make the hamburger icon for our sidebar. So I'm going to create a div. So div, and this one will have a class name. So let's say class name of sidebar icon. So let's say sidebar dash icon, or let's say sidebar button. And for now, let's just say hello, like so. So here it is, our sidebar button, our sidebar button div. So let's style it. So let's target it, Control C, go to our index.scss. So our sidebar button is inside our navbar, so we can paste it here. And let's say this will have a height of, let's say, 25 pixel, and the width can be, let's say, 28 pixel. And just so that we can see it, let's give it a background color. So background color of, let's say, red. So this is how much height and width we have. Let's see in our finished project. Let me make it smaller. So this is a bit bigger, so let's change the height and width. So let's say the height can be, let's say, 35 pixel, and let's see, let's say 32 pixel. And yeah, 32 pixel looks pretty similar. Let's change the width also. Let's say the width can also be, let's say, 30 pixel, 35 pixel maybe. And yeah, this should be good enough for now. But now here, instead of saying hello, we're going to create some div with a class of bar. So div, and the class name will be bar. Let me copy this 2 more times. So each of these bar will represent one of these bars. Now let's style them in our CSS. So let's go to our index.css. In the sidebar button, we'll have some bars. So dot bar. Let's say they will have a height of, let's say 8 pixel. The width will be 100%, like so, and the background color will be our text color. And we're going to say dash dash text dash color, like so. So here they are. Let's say our sidebar will have a display of flex. So display, actually we don't need display flex, they will have a position of absolute. So we're going to say bars will have a position. Let me close the semicolon here. And let's say they will have a position of absolute. So absolute, like so. To make this absolute position, we need to make it position of relative, otherwise it will cause some issues. Okay, so now let's target our first child. So ant colon nth child, and we want to target our first child, and this will have a top of 0. Let's choose our second child, and let's say this will have a top of, let's say, 50%. So 50% from the top. And then we're also going to say transform to translate y to negative 50%, and then let's target our third bar. So end child 3, and this one, the top will be, let's say, 100%, and then we're going to say transform to translate y. So translate y to negative 100%. Save it, and now these bars are, as you can see, spread it across the entire height. Okay, let me remove this red background color, we don't need it. Let's see how this looks. Okay, this is way too thick. Let's make it 6 pixel. Let's see. Yeah, 6 pixels should be good enough. Let's change it to, let's say, 30. Let's make it 28. And yeah, 28 looks good. Let me expand this. Okay. They will also have some border radius. So let's say border radius, let's say 5 pixel. And now this is how they look. And if you want, you can leave it like this, but I decided to make some bigger than others. So as you can see, this one is a bit smaller and this one is a bit bigger. So let's do that. So we're going to say our second child will also have a scale. So we're going to say scale. Actually it will be just scale x, and let's say 0.8. So this is a bit smaller. So let's also say transform origin. So transform, and the origin will be, let's say, right. And this is how this looks like. Let me also do the same for our third one. So let's say transform origin, right, and we're also going to say scale x, so scale x. This time let's make it 1.2, save it, and this is how this looks like. Let's make it 1.1, and this is how this looks like. Now let's change the width. I also want to make it, let's say 30 pixel, and yeah, 30 pixel maybe is much more similar to what we had. Yeah, 30 pixels should be good enough. And then what we want to do is, when this has a class list of active, I want to make it across like so. Let's see how we can do that. So for now, let's just statically say our sidebar will also have a class list of active. Later on, we'll be adding it using JavaScript in React. So let's say n.active. So when our sidebar has a class list of active, okay, first of all, we are going to say our bar. All of the bar will have a transform origin. So transform origin will be center, and they'll also have a top of, let's say 50%. So 50% like so. And then let's target our first bar. So we're going to say nth colon nth child. We want to target our first child, and this will have a transform of rotate to 45 degree, and the translate y will be negative 50%. Save it, and now this has rotated like this. So let's copy this. So we're going to say alt shift down. Let's target our third child, and this one will be rotated in negative 45 degree like so. Save like so, and let's target our, let's say second child. So we're going to say n colon n child second, and for this one we're going to say scale x. So scale x, and the scale x will be 0, so we won't be able to see it. Save it, and this is how this looks like. And this too should have a scale of 1, so let's do that. So let's say scale of 1, and instead of translate y, we are going to say translate, and let's say 0 for the x and 50% for the y. So 0 and 50 like so. Okay, the translate should be before the rotate, so let's cut this. So Control X and paste it here, Control V. Let's do the same for this one, Control X and Control V. Save and click on refresh, and this is how they look like. And now we also want to add some transition to our bars, so we're going to say transition, and we're going to say transition will be transform, and now instead of using this calc function and then var animation speed and then the duration every time, let's create a sass function for that. So we're going to save, and you can go to this page for more details about sass function. I'll leave the link to this page in the description, you can check it from there. So basically we have to say at function and then name our function. So we're going to say at function, and let's name it, let's say get animation duration, and this will take duration as its argument. So we're going to say $duration like so, and then we're going to say return at return, and we're going to say calc, and here we're going to say duration times dash var dash dash animation speed like so. Save it, and so let's see where we used our transition. So we use a transition here, so instead of this we can use our function. So our function is called get animation duration, and we can simply pass 0.2 second like so. Save it, let's refresh this, and as you can see this works the same. So let's copy this, Control C, and we can use this function in our transition for our bars as well. So here we're going to say our bar will have a transform, and the duration will be, let's say 0.5 second. Save. Okay, now we can't see the animation, that is because the state is fixed. So in our navbar, let's say this will not have a class of active by default, and here let's import our use effect. So we're going to actually use state, so we're going to say import use state, from React, like so. And here we're going to have a state. We're going to say const show sidebar, and set show sidebar. By default it will be false. And here, instead of simply saying the class name will be sidebar, let's cut it and use data binding. So here we're going to say if our show sidebar equals to true, in that case it will have a class list of sidebar and active. Otherwise it will have a class list of just show sidebar, save, like so. So if it was, let's say, true, now we get this cross icon. Let's make it false again. And here we can add a click event listener. So we're going to say on click, and here we're going to say set show sidebar, and here we can simply say exclamation mark show sidebar, save. Let's see if we have any error. It looks like we don't. So if we click on this, as you can see, this becomes cross and then again becomes the original bars if we keep clicking on them. So this is also working. We don't want this to be visible by default. This should be visible only in smaller screen. Let's see how we can do that. So in our index.css, let's go to here. Let's say our button, by default this will have a display of none. So we're going to say display of none. So now we can see it. And now we want to use a media query. So here we're going to say at media screen, and max width will be, let's say, 768 pixel. In that case, let me delete all of them. So in that case, our nav links will have a display of none and our sidebar button will have a display of block. So save it. So now it looks the same, but if we now were to go in a smaller screen, as you can see, now we get the button. So this is also working. And I think we should stop here, and in the next video we're going to create our sidebar. So let me make it smaller. So if we click on this, we should get this sidebar, and all these icons should pop up one after another. So I'll see you in the next video.